Welcome back to the Crypto is Key conversation. And seeing this market cap of the total crypto market cap sitting over $1 trillion, it's so refreshing to me. And I've told you before on this channel, I've been here when this market cap was, I can't remember if it was exactly below 100 billion, but it was at 100 billion. So I've seen this just completely decimated and being low back in, I think it was like 2018 at some point. But to see this over $1 trillion market cap is like, oh, thank God we're at least holding that. And there's just a little bit of optimism within, within the market in general. If we see coming down here, Bitcoin sitting at 23,089, Ethereum sitting at 1,655, XRP sitting at 37.5 cents, which is super positive. Looking at 24-hour gainer, Evmos up 191%. Good Lord. Lido Dow 15%, Kronos, Crow token 14.3%, and so on. But man, I love when I come on CoinGecko and I see that we're holding over $1 trillion market cap. I love it. I mean, especially when you come over here to the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, it's nice to see us out of the extreme fear range where we were literally living in for months. And we've kind of just been ranging within this fear range, which isn't the best, but it's optimism and it's good to see us here. I hate that these ads always popped up here. But yeah, it's super nice to come on and see this stuff. So I wanted to acknowledge that. So I want to go through a couple tweet thread here, and we have a couple videos as well talking about some updates with more stuff that's been surfacing in regards of just conflicts of interest, regulation by enforcement from these corrupt government officials that we have within the SEC, and kind of how it's affecting our markets. Starting with Stefan Huber here, he says so just in 2020 alone, Hester Pierce was engaged at least 4 times by the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, the EEA, as a speaker. How many times did she speak at Ripple's Swell in the last 10 years, or at any other project event? Question mark. Irish Tiger says they all need to come clean now, disclose everything immediately. Yeah, I would get it done. I mean, the writing's on the wall, and more evidence is being surfaced. Coming over here, digital asset investors responding to one of Stefan Huber's images that he had put up here. Says, not a good look with what we now know, Hester Pierce. I think it is about time to abandon all hope of anything good at the SEC. I'm betting dimes to donuts on CFTC fam. So this is Caroline D fam, and we're going to cover some video footage of her later on in this video. But coming over here, looking at these images Stefan Huber put up, he was saying this from Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. We are really fortunate to have SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce kick us off today with an in-depth discussion on digital assets and the incredible momentum we are seeing on a global scale. And I think there's another one here. Where, pretty much is acknowledging, hey, read what Hester Pierce and the SEC are doing to enable builders in the space. So obviously we know Hester Pierce has been called out by the community because she comes out and says all the right things, but it's all words. There's really no action, or as we say, there's no whistleblowing or truly calling out and servicing the truth of what's going on. She just comes out and says certain things that are like, oh wow, at least we have someone that's kind of speaking some facts against what Chairman Gensler and the SEC are doing. But it's like, okay, at this point, we're like, okay, enough of the words. Take some more action. What's next? And now they're calling her out more here. Coming over here, we were just talking about Caroline D. Pham here. It says CFTC commissioner pushes back against the claims the regulator cannot police digital markets. So this is the feud, or I guess you could say the battle or the tension between the CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, and the SEC. Coming over here, there's a video here where her and this gentleman here have a discussion on the topic. It says Congress investigating the SEC. Bill Hinman and Jay Clayton over China ties around ETHgate is the national security issue of our time, or of your time. Who will be the American hero who calls for this to be investigated? All the evidence is there. Jay Clayton was warned and ignored it. So let's listen into this.
Really is a very serious concern that I have found about national security and about American competitiveness. And I think that's very compelling. I found it to be very sincere, and I think that's something that we can't forget either.
Actually, maybe just to quickly pick up on the national security element, because that's, I've heard like a national imperative. It's important for our own economic standing to remain on the forefront of innovation. But how does that fit into national security for you?
I think when you look at traditional schools of thought around geopolitical power, you have, of course, military power, and you have economic power. And you have the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. So I think people are very concerned that should, because of these innovations in digital assets, in particular, if there really is a movement towards certain stable coins, for example, payment stable coins that are not, clearly they're not digital fiat because that would be a CBDC. And they're also not tokenized commercial bank money. And so if there's ambiguity over that regulation and over what those stable coins might be, people are really worried that that's going to be a movement away from the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. And that is a national security issue for the United States, as well as a deeply monetary policy issue as well. So that's just one example. But of course, if you have other things, if you have innovation, if you have capital investment, if you have talent, all moving offshore, that's something that people see as a concern as well. And you've seen that with other sectors that have moved offshore that can put the US at a competitive disadvantage. It can be detrimental, to our standing in the world. And I think from COVID, you've seen some issues when you've had, we've got a lack of onshoring facilities. And so this is really, I think, things that people are thinking about, and it's things that people are concerned about. And I think there are also concerns about what does it mean, again, from a geopolitical perspective, if should another currency arise as the world's reserve currency, or if there's a non-state currency, so to speak, that becomes a world's reserve. That's another thing that I think people are very concerned about.
So, I mean, it's just a waiting game to kind of see what happens. Obviously, being XRP or Ripple investors and knowing the technology and kind of what's going on with their, open up these, as we can, what do you call them? Pretty much on-demand liquidity corridors and all these different things. We can definitely see XRP truly handling, if not all the money, most of the money, around the world when it comes to, transfer of value cross borders and all the good stuff that comes with the technicals behind it all. But apparently the community has been buying into this thing of, it's not Hester Pierce as the crypto mom. They're saying that this Caroline D. Pham is the new crypto mom. So curious to see how, her agenda and her kind of, coming out and stepping up to be for the entire industry, translate into, going forward process and see how it influences things ahead. I'm trying to figure out if I want to put this video next. So we're going to come back to this video here with Jeremy Hogan. He had put up a video recently, and I want to thank Bose or Boz for putting this up. But we're going to come over here. This is from cryptogucci.eth. It says, ETH just flipped Bitcoin and options open interest for the first time in history. So they put up this image right here. BTC is the green one, and ETH is the blue one here. And as you can see over here, so Johnny Deaton spoke on. He says, open interest surpassed Bitcoin. Open interest for the first time in history. You can ETH open interest surpassed Bitcoin. Open interest for the first time in history. You can never underestimate a regulatory advantage. Hate him or love him, Joseph Lubin knew this better than anyone. Hiring Sullivan and Cromwell lawyers was his best move because it got him access. And then Tim, here goes Tim, good old Tim. Hashtag ETHgate. So that's kind of everything we've been talking about. What's this one right here? Okay, coming over here, Jeremy Hogan pretty much hits things on the heads when it comes to everything we've been talking about with the SEC's behavior and the conflicts of interest and just the shady stuff that's been happening. It says, congressional whistleblower alert. The entire crypto market has been built around criminal behavior at the SEC. Attorney Jeremy Hogan summarized it perfectly here. Not one person in Congress has called for an investigation of the SEC. And let's take a listen into this.
Looking at Exhibit B to Deaton's motion, this is an email from the SEC ethics attorney to Director Hinman, and it's pretty clear what she is saying. Quote, the analysis is the same for Simpson as it's always been. You have a bar under criminal financial conflict with Simpson because you have an ongoing financial interest in the firm. Meeting with them while having such a conflict is not permitted. As we discussed during your briefing, even calls with them are not permitted. And the reason why it was a crime for him to meet with them was because he still had a financial interest in the firm. Actually, he had a quite large financial interest in the firm to the tune of millions of dollars. So certainly a director at the SEC would have stayed away from violating federal law, right? This is an email from Mr. Bonney with Simpson Thatcher to Director Hinman. Quote, great seeing you for lunch. Thanks for making time. How about April 2 for the ad hoc group? close quote. Uh-oh. But I guess that meeting was prior to Mr. Hinman receiving that warning from the ethics attorney, so he probably just didn't know. I mean, the warning wasn't until January 2018, and that lunch was late 2017. Oh, shoot, wait. This is from August 2018, 7 months after the warning. Email to William Hinman from attorney Bonnie. Quote, how's it going? Crazy busy as usual? Want to have lunch again sometime? Close quote. And back at him from Hinman, quote, sounds good. Do any Tuesday or Thursday or even Friday work? Close quote. And I'll not bore you with anymore with the emails of rich dudes planning to meet for fancy lunches and dinners. I just hope they put as much thought into work as they do the menu at a restaurant. Suffice it to say, there were many more meetings detailed in those emails, which are now part of the court file. And so what, you might say? Well, as it turns out, Simpson Thacher, the law firm, who Mr. Hinman was very engaged with around 2018, just so happened to be a member of the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, the EEA. What is the EEA? Let's ask them. From their website, quote, the EEA is a member-led industry organization whose objective is to drive the use of enterprise Ethereum and mainnet Ethereum blockchain technology as an open standard to empower all enterprises, close quote. Well, that doesn't look good. Mr. Hinman was illegally meeting with Simpson Thacher, which was a member of an Ethereum support group, all around the time he was writing a speech which gave Ethereum a non-security designation. Well, that was probably just a coincidence. After all, the Hinman speech also declared Bitcoin a non-security, and surely Simpson Thacher doesn't have a stake or didn't have a stake in Bitcoin or anything like that. Oh, crap. Look at this tweet from Attorney Deaton. Quote, in 2019, while Hinman was director of corporation finance, Simpson Thacher led the IPO of Canaan, a Chinese company that sells Ethereum and Bitcoin mining hardware, close quote. Well, it looks like Simpson Thacher did stand to benefit from a Bitcoin free pass as well. And just to stay with Deaton's tweet for another second, quote, Hinman was being paid pursuant to his then profit-sharing arrangement while he was working at the SEC. In a financial arrangement like Hinman's, strict criminal conflict laws are in effect. 18 U.S.C. 208 prohibits you from participating personally and substantially on behalf of the federal government in any particular matter in which you have a financial interest, close quote.
So, I mean, long story short, I mean, that's literally the conflicts of interest and corruption that's been taking place. And as you can see, and we've been talking about it even in our recent videos that we have put up, that it literally, all the dots are starting to connect. The community has literally caught them in their lies, caught them in the act. And now you're starting to see, you know, some setting up of the narrative to kind of protect themselves. And you still have, you know, Chairman Gensler protecting the incumbents, you know, the powers that be, the banks, and not representing the so-called investors that they're so-called set out to protect. Like, it's all shady stuff. They're affecting, you know, our lives. They're affecting the market. You know, this is, you know, market manipulation at its finest as well. Crazy. And this ending on this right here, Johnny Deaton's responding to Moonchaser says the SEC chokehold on crypto is the last attempt of legacy systems struggling to keep the status quo. Literally, the incumbents, the banks, the powers that be. Johnny Deaton says the final act of destruction will be Gary Gensler suing Coinbase and maybe one other exchange. That will be the regulatory bottom. So cause as much pain and fear as you possibly can. Suppress this thing as long as you can, as hard as you can. Oh, you know, all the powers that be, the as you can say, 1%ers, the banks, oh, they missed the boat low key. Okay, turn that ship around, turn that boat around so we can get on. That's the mentality that's been presented here. It's crazy. They're literally trying to attempt of the legacy system struggling to keep the status quo. They're trying to keep me and you and, you know, from setting our families up, you know, for generational wealth, financial freedom. And then they're stopping and hindering the growth and innovation within this new emerging technology. How sick is that? This is crazy. This is the United States of America. This is crazy. And it's affecting the entire world, the entire crypto industry. Blows my mind. But that's the update I have here. I got a couple more different tweet threads and videos that I'm going to have ready for next video that I'm really excited to present to you. There's a lot of stuff that's been surfacing as of late, so the content's going to keep flowing. And as this Ripple versus SC case, draws closer to a conclusion, resolution, whether that's settlement or it goes through full litigation, I'm sure there's going to be so much more, I guess you could say hot takes or super interesting things that are going to come out. So we're going to make sure that we cover that as well. And obviously stuff that's going on within the industry as well. But make sure you come to the Crypto's Key Conversation YouTube channel, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at Crypto's Key 1. Really excited to keep bringing you content and super excited and blessed to have this community and continue to grow this community. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.